Coach, opening statement on the past week for Lumberjack basketball.
Wasn't our best week in Lumberjack history of basketball. Good thing is that we got Keon Thompson back to play. I would say that was a positive. Um, so that's probably the best thing that happened to our program in the last week, and we're getting through finals as we go through it. So we're probably about a little more than 24 hours away. But and we're trying to get better offensively. Our defense is steadily improving. One of the I think we're ranked today 11th in the country in defensive efficiency. But somehow we got to get our offense to catch up with our defense, and I think we'll be heading in the right direction.
All right, turn over to the media.
Coach, first of all, you mentioned Keon Thompson. How pleased are you with the performance he's had so far?
If you asked him that question, he would say not very, not very happy. We actually spent about 15 minutes after practice today visiting because he's really frustrated. He scored the ball really well Thursday night after practicing for a day and a half, after being out for 7 or 8 weeks, and probably put him in the fire counted on him too much, and had an elite scoring performance Thursday night. And thought it would be easy, and it's not. And then he struggled Saturday, bouncing back, trying to do too much pressure, put too much pressure on himself, and struggled. And I think our whole team, just not just Keon, but I think that we've taken for granted maybe how challenging, regardless of what league you're in. Every league is good, and this league. Probably the SEC and the Southland probably are the two most improved leagues in college basketball. You look at the rankings, there's no question that the Southland and the Southeastern Conference are the two most improved leagues in college basketball. And you saw it the other day. This is not the Southland Conference we left. It is a very good basketball league. Anybody can beat anybody on any given night, and we can't take anything for granted. We saw it. The other night, both teams we know what UTRGV is. They're top 100 in the net, and Corpus is close to it. So, I mean, it's a really good basketball league. It's as good as the WAC was that we left.
And shooting's been a struggle. Like, what's something that you?
Man, that's a nice way to say it. Thank you.
No problem. But no, what do you do? Like, how do you take steps to improve that?
Yeah. And we have been for a while. We're trying to. If anybody out there is listening to this, we're taking on any active hypnotists that want to come in and visit with our players to unlock, hypnosis in any of our players. But, you don't recruit players because they're great defenders. That's not what you go into, recruiting college basketball players. It's just, oh man, you put together a team that they're great defensive players. You recruit them on their talent, their ability to score the ball, and those type of things. Obviously, we're in a really bad rut offensively, and I think it's just like anything else. When you put pressure, and pressure is something we've always embraced here at SFA, and we are still to this day. I mean, we've always risen because of it. That game, talking about last week, Hunter brought it up earlier. I think myself, our team, our fans, everybody knew we would win that game in the last 2 minutes. We had a couple opportunities to do it. We've done it so many times around here, and we didn't get it done. We had some opportunities, passed the ball, maybe we should have shot it, missed a free throw or two, and just didn't execute. And the thing about college basketball, I think today, when you're putting a team together, we got about half and half, which is average or not average, less than average. And then when you're trying to you mentioned this Keon Thompson, trying to put your point guard back in the middle of 10 games in, now who hadn't been playing for 8 weeks, trying to mix that in, that's another challenge on top of it. So that's kind of what we saw in 2 conference games. So no excuses, but we'd much rather have done that at some other time in the year, if that makes sense, and so the pressure kind of hit all at once for us last weekend, And now we get a couple weeks to kind of work some of that smoothness out, hopefully, and where we'll get a little bit better. But it was, the first half was terrible. The second half we scored 40-some points, and then Saturday it was just like everybody was pushing as hard as they could to try to make plays for others, and we couldn't make any plays for anybody. And you just got to exhale and just trust that we're going to make something happen for somebody else. And
what's the status of Chris Johnson? Any timetable for him coming back?
Really no comment at this point.
Okay. As for Oregon, got them this week. What do you expect from them?
Well, I mean, I think everybody's seen Oregon. They've beaten the best teams in the country. They had a hiccup at home the other night against UCLA, and talking to their staff, they were obviously frustrated in that game. I mean, they've beaten the best, Alabama and all the other teams that they've beaten so far this year, and they're really senior dominated, and watching them on film at this point, they have great size, which is probably not something our team wants to see right now, because the strength of our team is, our rebounding, our ability to get the ball to the basket offensively, and it's not how we score. That's kind of what we've done. So we're going to have to make some jump shots against them, and which is going to be good. We're going to be challenged to do some things we haven't done so far, and I think will help us be better. Because we have to concentrate and focus on some of the things that we haven't done very well at this point, which will expand our game. And really, when you play a team like that, one of the best teams in college basketball, it's capable of winning, a national championship. You're going to be stretched, and you're going to find out where you are, and hopefully we'll improve. That's why you come to Stephen F. Austin, to play teams like that. And so our players are excited. We're excited. I mean, hopefully no more. Every game's the same. I mean, I hearken this back to our games last weekend. We're pretty much everybody's biggest opponent in our league. And we get to go to Oregon where we're not, it's kind of the same deal. Our guys are going to see Oregon and have a chance to, get probably, they don't see another opponent where they're not, the target's not on their back. I'm talking about us versus somebody else for the first time, maybe all year long. And it's a different role for our players for the first time that we can maybe learn from.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about, the defense being a big bright spot, then obviously getting into the paint and that being your main source of offense. Can you kind of go through some of the other bright spots that you think you could build around this offense outside of, driving into the paint and getting points in the paint?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying. I think Jelani Stone's been a bright point for our team so far. Like, analytically, he's led us analytically in points per possession. We've got to get him the ball more and then play through him and play out of him. I think that will create some three-point shots for us. Like, we have guys statistically that have shot the ball better than what we're shooting it today. I mean, Miles Jenkins shot 40% from three last year. He's way off that mark. Keith Lamar shot 42.5%, made 2.5 threes a game last year. Way off that mark. He's not even shooting free throws as well as he shot from behind the three-point line a year ago. Heyman's the same way. So, I mean, we've watched, Dom is a freshman who, if anybody watched us play this summer and fall, would think, man, he has a chance to be freshman of the year. And I don't blame any of these guys. We have to do a better job as coaches to get our perimeter players to play better and put them in better positions to showcase their talent. And like today in practice, we were like, all right, guys, let's exhale. What can we do? We went through a period, obviously, not having your starting quarterback or backup or whatever, changing some things offensively. Now you include your quarterback, kind of go back to some of the things that you maybe fit your team a little bit. So hopefully, we can be a little bit more efficient offensively because the name of the game is turn the scoreboard. No matter how good your defense is, you got to end up 1 point better. Our defense has given us a chance to win some games and be in some games. And, if you win both those games last weekend, everything's golden around here. Nobody's worried about anything. But, it's about production. And, unfortunately, we are where we are, but it only is going to make you stronger at the end of the year.
Yeah, Coach, and then another part of this offense, turnovers have been a big part of it. Almost
Absolutely.
18 a game. It's second worst in all of Division One. So, what's been kind of the focus in bringing that number down and just not turn the ball over?
Yeah, I mean, so that's a great question. I mean, not to be smart about the response to turnovers, but like, all right, are you in the right spot? I mean, it's as simple as in the right spot, wrong spot. Um, Guys are, and I'll make this as simple as I can. You can move guys up in the lineup. Like, you can move a wing to maybe a small forward to power forward, sometimes a power forward to center. But it's hard to move guys the other way. Power forwards to small forwards to two guards to points. And that's what we've had to do with our roster for the most part for the first 8 to 10 games. So it makes their ball handling, their skill level a little bit different. And maybe as a coaching staff, are we playing a little too fast for where our skill level is? And because, my philosophy is always, and we've turned the ball over here a lot. We always have. Because maybe how we try to coach our guys, give them a free mind, let them play with a free mind. The statistics we really focus in on how many more shots do we get on our opponent. I think that lends itself to winning games. And I go back to a guy I worked for a couple places ago, a guy named Bill Self at Kansas. They led the league in the Big 12 almost every year in turnovers. And why is that? Because he wants his guys to play fast and play with a free mind, and he never worries about turnovers because he thinks most of the ability of guys playing with freedom is going to lead to guys playing faster and have a chance to lead to a 10-2 run or a 12-4 run or something like that in transition. So I've tried to kind of model our program similar to that but when you get to the point where we've gotten to with not ability to score, it puts a lot of pressure on those possessions when you do get shots, and the live ball turnovers are really where we've hurt ourselves. But you look at points off turnovers, we've been pretty similar. I would think I'd have to go back through and look at it, but pretty similar to the other team.
Yeah, Coach, and then obviously flying up to Eugene, it's a long trip, and not having a midweek game, kind of being able to focus on that. How does that sort of affect you guys, kind of traveling wise, having a full week to prepare for Oregon and just kind of fix these, get into the gym and be able to, work on fixing some of these offensive woes?
Well, we're in finals week, so I'd like to say we've been able to maximize our time, which I think we have. For the short amount, the windows that we've had, we've practiced some a little bit at different times this week because the guys have had some finals in the mornings and the afternoons, whatever. So we've, with the windows we've taken, we've had about 2-hour blocks where we've been able to get everybody together for the most part. And we've taken about 30 minutes of those to shoot, sometime on free throws, sometimes on working on game shots, and then spend about an hour and a half really focused on ourselves, trying to add some tweaks to our offensive game to maybe fit the personnel that we have, that maybe identified after 10 games what fits our personnel maybe a little bit better than what we thought going into the year, what these guys are capable of, but really trying to focus in on our own team to help us the last 21 games versus Oregon that we're a few days away from playing as we sit here today, and then spend the last couple of days this week preparing for just that game as we move into the weekend for Sunday's game. And obviously there'll be a lot of prep work that goes into that game to compete with them.
Do you think having played in the WAC kind of helps prepare you for a trip to Oregon?
I've never been to Eugene before. It's one of the few places I've never been to. And doing this as dusty as I am and old as I am, it's one of the few places I've never been in college basketball. But I do think the cross-country travel, like we leave here tomorrow or Friday, where all our guys' finals are done tomorrow. So we're leaving Friday at 5 a.m. to head to the airport. We get there at 12, which would be 2. So if you do the math, it's like a 9-hour trip for us, 9 hours and 15 minutes. But I think it's something like that by the time we leave here until we get to Eugene. So that's a pretty good day right there, right? And that's from from the time we get on the bus until we land. So it'd probably add another hour before you get to the hotel. So it's 10 hours by the time we leave here until we get there. And then we'll take and then go practice from the time we get there. So it'll be 12 hours from the time we leave here to go there. So I'm thankful we're not doing those cross country whack trips again, which we had a lot of those. Yeah. So yeah, it's good.
You talked about the focus. The focus is definitely going to be on Sunday, but before we started this, you were talking to Nathan about one of your favorite days of off campus, because you are going to be back home for a little bit, so thankfully you get to having that chance to do some more outreach in the community. Break that down a little bit, because by the time you get back, it'll be right into the bustle of things, so we want to be able to break that down right now.
Well, we've my wife Chauncey and I have always wanted. She does a great job, and our players and staff do a great job of really participating in the holiday season and with some other organizations around the community, and really giving kids and young people in Nacogdoches who maybe aren't as fortunate as most of us are, and buying young people who don't have aren't going to have Christmas, and we can be their Santa. And our players, we go out and take lists of for young people, children, all from as young as a year or two up to 13, 14, 15 years old, and anywhere from 15 to 20 kids, young people in this community, and go buy them Christmas gifts. And not just buy the gift, but I think just as important as that, we're talking about this earlier, wrap the gifts and anonymously give them to the children, and so they will have something at Christmas to open for themselves. And we haven't publicized it. We've done it every year we've been here. It's not for publicity. It's not for attaboy, but it's to give, for almost 200 young people here in our community who weren't going to get Christmas since we've been here. And I know there's we're not the only one. There are a lot of people in this community that do a lot for a lot of people. And that's what makes Nacogdoches great. But it's a great way for me, I think, and my wife Chauncey, to teach our people, our players, and our program what the meaning of Christmas really is, right? And what the purpose of Christmas is to our own players. And we were laughing about our guys not being able to wrap Christmas gifts. And if there's one thing our guys get from playing for me is learn how to wrap Christmas. And so that's a neat deal.
It was the MVR. Well, I guess.
Valuable wrapper.
MVW.
Yeah, and maybe my daughter Kinsey at this point, she's pretty good at it. So she can teach somebody to wrap gifts pretty quickly.
There you go.
That's for sure. She usually takes that afternoon off and when she's in school. So
There you go.
Lumberjacks head to the Northwest to take on the University of Oregon this Sunday at 5 p.m. Central. You can catch the game on the Big Ten Network. Coach, as always, thanks for the time.
Axum.